Loren. Your journey to creating Sweet Loren's is deeply personal and inspiring. Your mom was diagnosed with cancer and you watched her battle it for years, and then slightly after college, you were diagnosed yourself. Can you describe the moment when you realized that your personal story could inspire a brand?
I think the answer to that is twofold. When I was going through treatment, I just made like a deal with the universe. Like I was like, if I get through this, I promise I will find a way to make the world more beautiful. I will give back. I will find a way to improve it. I will make sure that I use my life to its fullest, best use of itself. So I had that. And then when I started to make my own cookie recipes, it was really, personal need. I was just having fun with it. I was fulfilling my sweet tooth. And when I saw the reaction of other people, that was the second aha of, wait a minute, I'm not the only one who wants this.
They say that magic sometimes is born from the darkest of situations. When facing adversity, some humans break, and others explode like fireworks, leaving their story of overcoming obstacles imprinted in the world. As a female founder myself, some of the most inspiring stories that I find as a filmmaker are stories of entrepreneurs who, against all odds, build companies that affect our lives in big or little ways every day. Meet Loren Brill Castle, a storyteller in the world of entrepreneurship, whose life narrative intertwines with her creation, Sweet Loren's, the #1 healthy dessert brand sweeping the nation. From facing her own illness while in college to transforming her passion for baking into the magic of her brand, Sweet Loren's. Join us as we dive into Loren's inspiring narrative, explore how her personal struggles can lead to groundbreaking innovations, and how a single idea can truly heal the world, one wholesome bite at a time. Let's welcome Loren to the studio. Welcome to Storyteller's studio, Loren.
Oh, this is so much fun. Thank you so much for having me.
We're so happy to have you. You talk about growing up with your sister in a household with your mother. What is your earliest memory of creating sweet treats or being in love with baking?
So my mom was an entrepreneur. She was the breadwinner of our family too. I don't remember her baking ever because I don't think she had time. She didn't have time. She didn't have time. So I wasn't baking a lot when I was younger. Mm-hmm. But I do think that I'm the middle child. I have an older brother. I have a younger sister. I was the one who was kind of making dinner for the family or reheating leftovers or maybe making pancakes on the weekends for my siblings because my parents were both really busy and they kind of let us be very independent. And so I remember that. I also grew up in New York City around the corner from Loren Bakery.
Oh,
Do you know it? Okay.
Loren. I spent time in New York. I was there for almost 2.5 years right after I graduated college. And Loren was just so scrumptious.
And so that was my neighborhood bakery. And so I ended up working there in between.
Oh, no way.
In the summers, in between, when I went to college and before I went to college, just, to make money, thinking this was just I loved being around happiness and I love the way people would line up around the block. And there was something really magical about that. And so I didn't realize at the time, but I was drawn to being around things that made people super happy, something that felt like there was magic making. And
we love that.
And so that was really my experience with baking. I was not the baker. I have a huge sweet tooth. Everyone in my family has a huge sweet tooth, but we're picky about what we eat, and we want dark chocolate, but super high quality dark chocolate, and eating from delicious bakeries. And so that was the extent of it. I really got into baking because I got sick.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that. In film, we have something called an inciting incident. It's like that turning point when someone realizes their purpose. And you talk about being a healthy eater as a family, as children growing up. And I know for me, when I had a health crisis, and it was the first time that I really became clinical about what I was putting into my body. And that obsession led me to people like you and brands like you and really discovering the power of whole food. For you, was there an inciting incident? Of course, your illness and what you were going through, but was there a moment where you felt like this was your purpose, being able to create this for other people?
Absolutely. So when I was going through treatment, I asked my doctor, what else can I do? Because I was going through the chemo treatment, but what else could I do to make sure I was going to get through this? And not just get through this. Like, of course, number one was just surviving. But also, I wanted to make sure once I got through it and hopefully came out healthy, I wasn't feeling scarred or like not as great as I used to feel. I wanted to thrive. Like, that was the only way I wanted to live. So my doctor said to me, and he was an amazing doctor, but he just was like a very serious oncologist. And he was like, just keep doing your normal stuff. He didn't really have anything else to kind of teach me. And that's when a big aha for me was I've got to be my own doctor. And I did a lot of soul searching.
How old are you here?
I'm 22 years old.
So it's just after college.
A couple months after graduating college, lymph nodes in my neck were really swollen. I was done with my pediatrician because I was 22.
Yeah, don't worry. I did the same thing.
And my mom unfortunately had a type of leukemia, and her doctor was an oncologist, and she just saw my lymph nodes and was like, I'm just bringing you to my doctor on Monday because
how lucky.
This looks weird. And so she brought me to her doctor. I'm the youngest one in the room by decades. And he looked at me and said, you have nothing at all or Hodgkin's lymphoma. And
wow.
It took a month of testing. Nothing showed up in my blood work. I had no other signs. So it was incredibly surprising and devastating because 22 years old. Of
course. You're just starting your life out.
You feel invincible,
yes.
And on the outside, I look so healthy.
Of course.
I'd been a yoga instructor. Like, I wouldn't say I was crazy healthy, but like I was always a health conscious person.
You were doing what you thought you need to do to stay a healthy human being. Exactly.
And that just, knocked me on my knees. Like I just was like, is my life gone? Is this it? Like this isn't my movie. My movie is like thriving and happy. Like it doesn't end at 22. So when my doctor kind of had no other, advice for me, I realized like I had to do a lot of soul searching to figure out like, what do I want to do during this time? I had 6 months of chemo. I wasn't working. And I was like, during days I don't have treatment, I'm going to do everything I can to like fortify myself, like mentally and physically. I'm going to meditate as much as possible and like just really try to stay positive. Well, that's kind of what I mean by meditate.
Such a big part of the healing process. It is. Just making sure you have everything in alignment with that healing energy.
Totally. Because for the first 2 months, I will say I was like
devastated.
I was depressed for the first time in my life, like zero interest in life anymore. It was like all ripped from me. And I was like this. And once I really tasted what that was like, I was like, feeling bad is the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Like all I want to do is be happy. What can I bring into my life that's going to make me feel happy? And so I started studying nutrition. Food was just obvious to me. Like food is just energy. And I just knew myself, anytime I ate packaged processed food that didn't really have like—
You didn't feel great.
I didn't feel great. So I started studying, but you're not taught nutrition.
No.
In my mind, flour is flour, like white refined, flour, wheat flour is like the only flour out there. Meanwhile, there's a million healthier other flours out there that just really weren't mass market yet. Sugars, oils, now we know there's a lot more education out there that all oil isn't great for you.
But
right?
as a 22-year-old, you in crisis, this is not something you have to learn. Something you had to teach yourself.
Learn. So I started studying nutrition, whole food, real food ingredient nutrition. Just how do you keep nutrients as much as possible in ingredients? And then how do you make food taste better because of that? And then I started to take a cooking class so that
Can you guys see this movie? So I can see this movie.
I do. I would love this movie.
She has this pivotal moment, and then she has an obsession. It is an obsession. I can hear Anne Hathaway's like heels clicking away as she plays this role. An obsession where you really dive deep, just trying to figure out like, what do I do with this information? I think it's so important also. during these types of times, if you're able to find something to throw yourself into, it helps you stay positive.
Well, that's exactly right. And I think baking actually even took it a step farther because it's not
smell these. because that's my endorphin hit for the day, everybody.
Well, warm cookies, there is literally nothing better. But baking, as I said before, it's not like I grew up loving baking or something like that.
This is why I asked you this question, though.
So like cooking, so I took cooking class and I was like, the only reason we don't eat healthy is because we don't really know what healthy is and we don't know how to make things taste great. If food tastes good, you're going to eat it. That's why most people don't eat healthy food, like because it doesn't taste as great.
Of course.
So it's like, if I can learn how to make everything taste delicious, and you're going to feel better after you eat the healthy food, you're going to choose the healthier option. So became a great cook, but it was easy to make salads and grains and proteins and everything taste great because, you can learn the techniques. But baking, dessert.
It's a different animal.
It's science. It's a different animal. And all the recipes in this baking class were like the conventional stuff. It was, butter, white flour, corn syrup, it was just heavy. It didn't make me feel good. And that's where I was like, wait a minute, baking is but I love baking because it was so therapeutic.
So tell me about this process and getting to, so I've had Loren's cookies and they were so good. And I'm not just saying that, like I am a someone who, I eat very healthy, but to find dessert items that are healthier and that are also absolutely delicious, your boyfriend, your father, the people who are, thumb their noses up traditionally at these types of treats, eat and don't know the difference.
That's exactly
That is finding a winner. And these are absolutely delicious. I want to paint the story. So I want you to tell me about this moment when you create your first cookies, and the process, because I can picture you right now. You're in a kitchen, you're starting, and all of us have done this who've tried healthy eating. We tried with a little stevia here, a little monk fruit. The early brands don't taste that great. You're throwing out those batches. You're trying again. Your poor family's trying, having the taste test through the almond flour and the coconut flour and
all of it.
So this is the vision I have of you in this kitchen.
That's right.
Yeah, taste testing. Tell us about this. When did you find?
No one has made, I don't think, as many recipe iterations as I have. That's how dedicated I was in the early years to make this recipe. So I started, studying nutrition, fell in love with whole food ingredients, just whole grain flours, finding gluten-free flours that were just better for you, less inflammatory for your body. Like I fell in love with oat flour and, sea salt instead of refined processed salt, healthier oils, all these things. So have a huge sweet tooth, saw the magic of, a bakery and having a line out the door. And I was like, I'm going to recreate that amazing, delicious joy that you get from a warm cookie, but I'm going to make it as whole food ingredient as possible. But it's still going to taste just as good, even better than something conventional and processed. So I tried my original recipes here's the normal Toll House recipe, on the back of a chocolate chip
Switching
cookies.
ingredients out.
Let's just sub it one for one. Absolutely not. It is not. There is no one for one. And that's where I started to realize this is a problem. This is a hard problem to solve. This is not a one for one. Let me decrease this and add a little bit more of this. Oh, let me add a little bit of water and mix it with the flour and the oil. Oh, baking powder versus baking soda. Oh, maybe it's a flour blend.
Where in your health journey were you when you started experimenting with these recipes?
It's a great question. I thankfully had been cured.
Okay.
But you still needed to have checkups and scans for the next 5 years. So I still felt fragile, and I wanted to stay in New York City, be at home near my family. So probably the first couple months after I kind of got cleared from my doctor, because I realized once he gave me the clear, he was like, okay, go get a job. You're normal now. You're normal now.
You
you're
just
cleared.
went through hell.
Exactly.
Go get a job. I would have been like, I'm going to go live in Costa Rica.
Yeah, exactly.
Peace out.
But he was saying that you're normal now. Go be with your friends. You can do whatever you want. But in my head, I was like, I am not normal. My body is still sensitive. I never want it to get hurt again. I will do anything I can to keep it happy and healthy. And so I just, I was on high alert about everything. And so But I didn't want to be on a strict diet my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, I want to eat my favorite foods. I love food. I love great food. So that's where like the aha came of like, wait a minute, I'm trying to just have a healthier lifestyle. I don't want to be on a diet. I don't want to ever feel deprived. I have a sweet tooth. What can I have on a normal basis that makes me feel great? Because when I would go to those conventional bakeries, you know, I never felt great after I ate their cookies and muffins and everything.
About 2 hours later, you feel awful.
I just felt awful. And I was like, my body can't process this easily. There's no nutrition really. Like I need to solve this for myself. So that's what happened. I was like, and I saw it was a difficult problem. I was like, and the thing about baking is because it's very difficult, even though it seems sweet and everything.
No, you have to measure everything precisely.
Everything is grams and precise. Everything, the humidity, the different, your water,
chemistry.
It's chemistry. It completely changes. And so, but I kind of fell in love with that because I was like, oh, this is difficult. Like I'm excited.
You love the challenge.
I'm gonna use this. Exactly.
That's that independent kid in you.
And baking, I didn't realize it, but it is very therapeutic and it helped me heal. Like it's very meditative. It makes people very happy. There's so much joy at the end of it. It is magical. You know, you create something and all of a sudden it goes into an oven and it comes out completely different. So I didn't realize at the time, but like I think being methodical, paying attention to the details of grams and weights and measurements of each ingredient.
Gave you that brain space to heal.
It did.
Yeah.
And it made me feel like I was using what I had learned during that year of nutrition
for good.
And so that like, and I just needed positivity in my life, you know,
I love that
I needed to make something.
I love the magic that you've created. Let's talk a little bit more as we go. Let's fast forward through your story. Because we're about halfway through and I want to ask you questions about the brand and marketing, but I want to talk the next piece of a story arc is you always have a midpoint crisis. And so you start making these great recipes. You find a recipe that works. You're bringing joy to your friends and family. You decide to start a company. Right? I've read about you going to the different trade shows and taking your little toaster oven and having to set up and have that presence. And we've all watched this movie about the grind of building a company. For you, on that way up, when was the next moment where it just felt like it might all fall apart or the next big obstacle that you faced as a company?
So my original recipes were, now Sweet Loren's products are gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free. They're like free really of the top 14 allergens. My original recipes weren't. So they were just healthier versions of a chocolate chip cookie. And I got it into Whole Foods after so much hustle of, as you said, I was that girl like setting up booths at, like Union Square Farmers Market.
Where's the worst place that you ever set up a booth?
I mean, there was like these Hester streets, like just like street fairs that were just, like the hustle. I mean, it's not like I had a crew with me that was like, here's a truck, Loren. We got the table and the setup. We'll do it all for you. And you just show up. It was like, I had to figure out how to schlep all these things around New York City.
Did you have any help?
I had no help. I really, my sister kind of and friends would kind of help me a little bit, but I had no money. I didn't have a business plan yet. Like I was just like, let me just keep testing this out. Like
these cookies, just taking them to the market.
People like keep asking me to bring them to like dinner parties and things like that. Then I got it into Whole Foods, into a couple.
How did you get
it
into Whole Foods?
So I did try to work for other people. I did. I tried to work for a restaurant. I tried to work in finance. I tried to work in a PR agency. And like, I was miserable. And I think that's when I realized, and the only joy I really had was when I came home.
This is while you were building the cooking company.
I was coming up with new recipes for, it wasn't called Sweet Loren's yet, but I was coming up with new recipes and just building like a binder of recipes. And I realized the joy I had in the day was like being creative when I came home and like creating new flavors. And I just realized I was pretty unemployable, like I didn't have like prior experience, working in some other, industry. So I was really just trying to like get my footing in an industry, figure out what I wanted. And like, I just hate when someone tells me what to do. I feel imprisoned. I feel trapped.
I am the same way.
So when you start listening to that, you're like, the only way I'm going to be able to pull this off is like start my own thing. Yeah. That's the only way. And guess what? I hate working for someone else so much that I don't care how hard it is to start my own thing. I will do whatever it takes.
Wow.
Because there is no other option for me.
I love that.
And that freedom and that like really that freedom and that independence is worth everything.
This episode was brought to you in partnership with Little Black Tux. Little Black Tux is my go-to when I need a timeless look. Whether I'm speaking on a film panel, walking a red carpet, or need a bold, sophisticated look for a photo shoot, Little Black Tux has me covered. Little Black Tux isn't just a clothing company, they're a company with a story, a strong why. And you know I love a good story. They're breaking boundaries and creating clothing that empowers women with versatile, upscale options. I love my Little Black Tux, and I know you will too. So no seed money, no startup money, you just making cookies, going to going to street markets.
Yes.
Street markets to grocery stores that would let you taste us.
So like just the beginning was like bringing my recipe, like a bunch of cookies to like, friends' houses when they had a party, or bring them to my neighbors, or doing some street fairs just to like test it out. Like, are people going to pay for this? Do they love it? What flavors do they love?
How do you end up with Whole Foods?
So I decided when I realized I'm an entrepreneur, I have to figure this out. I was living at home with my mom, and she was like, I'm giving you 6 months. Otherwise you have to start paying rent. You can't just like live at home free. And I was like, okay. And it made me like really get into, go mode.
We talk about this a lot in this show. Sometimes putting a time limit really creates that drive. I had the same thing. I had a time limit on.
It's so important.
Before I had my first success in film. Mm-hmm.
And also, what I just went through, I had this mindset, like every day counts.
Yes.
Every second counts.
Yes.
Like I don't want to let this life just like fly by.
Absolutely.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. And, when I was going through treatment, I really like made a deal with the universe. Like I was like, I promise if I get through this, I will make something so amazing. And so like, I don't know, it was in my head. It was like, this is what I've committed to. I'm not going to let this life just like happen to me and then have regrets later on. So I took a business writing course, signed up for this like 6-week business writing course so I could figure out, am I going to open a bakery? Am I going to create a consumer packaged goods product? If I was to create a product in a supermarket, what would it be? Is it a baking mix? Is it baked cookies? Is it cookie dough? It was a lot to figure out. And again, I had no one, and I'd never done this before. And my family wasn't in the food industry, so I have no idea what I'm doing. And in the course, this guy named Corey worked in Whole Foods.
Oh, no way.
I'm talking worked in the overnight shift restocking the shelf, but still. And I said to him, how does one get into Whole Foods? Like, what is the process? I didn't know what you had to have. I didn't know how long it would take. And he called me the next day and he was like, you have a meeting with the head buyer of the Columbus Circle Whole Foods.
Wait. The guy had did the overnight.
He just talked to the buyer of the dairy section.
What?
And by the way, like
the overnight shift guy got you your interview?
I love Corey and I always will because he went to bat for me.
That's so great.
It was so great.
Did he have a cookie with him?
And so
How did he do it?
But I always brought my cookies to class. So he had tried them. He was able to say like with conviction.
He had the cookie fever.
Yes.
He had the cookie fever. That I get.
And I was pissed. I was like, Corey, my website says coming soon. Like, I don't have an actual packaged product. I don't want to look unprofessional, right? But he was like, just go and tell him your story and tell him what your goals are. And I was like, you know what? You have one life. Like, I'm going for it.
I love this.
So I put together like a 1-pager of like what Sweet Loren stood for in terms of the ingredients we use, why I created it. And I made like 10 different flavors of my cookies.
Did.
Put them in this like, I got like a gift and took out what the gift is and put them inside like some fancy box that I re-gifted and brought them, had the meeting with him, walked around the supermarket with him. And he was like, if you do baked cookies, like they're not going to taste warm and fresh like this for days. So, I wouldn't go there. Baking mixes move very slowly.
Sure.
Like, that's not maybe a great market to choose. He was like, no one's really built the next brand name in natural cookie dough. There's like 2 brand names out there, but they're very conventional.
Wow.
And he's like, I have 2 daughters. Like I would want to buy a better brand. And it was really a light bulb moment for me because cookie dough.
I love that the whole food guy gave you the the rest of the concept. What a great.
I just wanted a business so badly that I just wanted him to place an order so badly that I was like, we can make anything you want.
Whatever you want.
We can do it. Whatever you want. Just place the order. And so I really needed him to tell me like, what would he actually buy? Where does he see a need? And so it really helped me. And it really made sense to me because friends had actually always asked me, like, can I just buy like some of your cookie dough? Because like I want to make it warm at my house later for my kids. Yeah. So it made sense to me just from watching human interaction. Like people are obsessed with warm cookies out of the oven and people love eating cookie dough raw, period, full stop. So He's like, let me meet with my team, like give me the samples. He also asked me like why I started the company. And I didn't really feel comfortable those early days, like telling the cancer story because I don't know, I felt vulnerable. I wondered if they thought I was going to like be healthy enough to like,
do the company.
Do the company. I didn't want them to feel sorry for me. It made me feel emotional, all the things. But I realized it was like so powerful. It humanized me and him so much. And it made him understand this wasn't just going to be a cookie company. Like there was a purpose and there was going to be a difference in the way that we did things than anyone else. So he called me the next day and he was like, my team said they've never tasted something so good. How soon can we get this as cookie dough? And that was like,
how soon did you tell him?
And so I was like, give me 1 month. In 1 month.
1 month?
I thought in 1 month, give me 1 month. In 1 month, I'll figure out how to find a factory, design packaging,
1 month?
get it to you. It took 7 months.
Wow.
But I stayed in touch with him. Thankfully, he didn't leave Whole Foods and he stayed in the position. And, I think he understood how hard it is to start a food business. And so he was supportive and he was like, let's just get it on the shelf and see what happens. And then we've talked about your driving force for creating all of this. What was the driving force to keep going at this point? Just I think the freedom, right? The freedom of being able to do what you want and create something what you want and take that mess and make it magic. It's a combination because definitely that. I mean, that was like, the healing moment for me was like, if I can turn this mess into magic, then like I've won. I won this life. It was a crazy thing that happened, not just to me. I lost my mother the year I launched Sweet Loren's. And,
I'm so sorry.
And it's, it was terrible. It was miserable. It's still terrible, over 10 years later. But
that's your midpoint crisis. But we found it.
But, all of this had to be for something better. That's really how I looked at it. But honestly, the thing that drives me, because I've been doing this over 10 years now, is the reactions of other people. So I got into a couple Whole Foods. I was that girl demoing it, in the store, on the freaking subway, bringing my toaster oven on the subway in a rolly suitcase, setting up someplace with a plug in the freezing supermarket.
Picture to paint.
It was so miserable, but I was so happy, right? Because I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe I get to like start this company. But, from that day of sampling it to people, I heard the magic of it. Like I would hear people say, wait a minute, this is brilliant. A healthier, delicious cookie dough. Of course I would buy this over the conventional. Oh, this is dairy free. Oh my God, I can't find anything that's dairy free. Wait a minute, this has nothing artificial.
Well, I think it helped a lot that your cookies are delicious. I'm just going to keep saying it.
No. That's
because we've had so many healthy brands that are not amazing. The cookie speaks for itself.
100%. We would not exist if it wasn't insanely delicious.
It is insanely delicious.
That's the number one goal of the company. Everything we make, the goal is just to be insanely delicious.
Yes.
But we're going to use as simple, unprocessed ingredients as possible so that you feel better after eating these. They're not going to weigh you down. They're not empty. It's still a cookie.
That explains it, guys. That's why I ate 4 last night while I was making that. When we think about brands and we think about powerful stories, I think that your brand is a testament to the story being as big as the brand. And we've seen that a lot of times really resonates with the general public. It's what resonates with storytellers like me. It's what creates a great moment in pop culture. Let's talk a little bit about that community that you guys have built as Sweet Loren. You guys are as a brand, you have a very strong community. Do you hear stories from this community? How have you continued to build it? What is it about this community that has really helped propel this story forward to the masses?
So the community has been everything. And that's really honestly what's given me the energy over the last, 10 years. And I have even more now. Like I feel like we're just getting started because it's taken this long to be taken seriously, and sold in 25,000 supermarkets. And, so now it's like, okay, we've gone this far to build a platform. What else can we do? But that's really what's kept me going is like we have the most amazing fans and customers. And I can't tell you how many emails I get that people say, you've changed my life. Like, thank you so much.
Do you remember a specific story that really touched you?
Well, in the early days when I started to get a lot of emails from fathers too that would say,
wow,
like my daughter like sees like your name and I have a the picture of me has always been on the package. It's like, you know, my daughter just, you know, read the back of your package and saw your story of just like strength and like survival. And like she sees herself in you. She loves
so
to
beautiful.
bake. Like she's going to be an entrepreneur, or like she's going to be like a businesswoman. And I really think it's because she's seeing examples of women like you. So like, I can't thank you enough. I started to get a lot of emails like that at the beginning, and all of Sweet Loren's products now are, you know, of course, delicious, but they're also, you know, gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free. They're free of the top 14 allergens.
All the frees, guys.
All the frees.
The frees.
Which normally means it's not going to taste good, but
no,
we did that
delicious.
in addition. And that has brought on a whole new amazing customer base. I mean, can you imagine if you had someone in your family that had a nut allergy or dairy allergy or gluten allergy? They're eating the weird food and they're always separated and they don't get to go to the birthday parties with other kids, or they're just frustrated. Like if your body doesn't like one of those ingredients because, you know, you just feel better staying away from a certain ingredient, or you truly have an allergy, like you're the weirdo.
The joy back.
Yeah, exactly. And we've given them the joy back. And because it's so delicious, as you said, then dad likes it, mom likes it,
and no
boyfriend likes it. No one complains. No one cares. No one's paying attention that like it happens to be gluten-free and vegan, but you'd never know. So like and I really resonate with people that have food allergies, I think, just because I just want everyone to feel great.
Well,
you
yeah.
know? I want
it's
them
just
to
a
feel
great cookie.
Yeah.
Tell me about when you finally get into Whole Foods and you have your first success, both as, because I want to finish the story part before I ask you a couple more questions about the brand and the community and what you guys have really built. And then we're going to do a great character analysis on you because the story is all about you. When you have your first success, because you didn't have a bunch of money backing you, you had really been scrappy, you had been working all hours just to get this thing out, you've been carting your toaster oven, which is a great image, on a subway to go get these things out. Now you have that first financial success with the Whole Foods order. Like, what does that, like on a personal level, like, well, how does that change your life? What was the change for you? What was that moment for you?
So right when I got into Whole Foods is really when my mom passed away. And I really feel like Sweet Loren saved my life in the sense that like all of a sudden Sweet Loren's had legs of its own. Like once I got it into one supermarket, there was demand. And I got on the Today Show. I got on Rachel Ray. I like we had fans and people loved the story and the product and they wanted it more across the country. And so thank God though I had this like positive thing that was happening in my life that I could put energy towards.
What a
that
gift.
Made me feel like my future was going to be bright. That again, there was this positive thing that was going to happen, you know, even though negative things happen to you, you know, and you know, a lot of people go through this, like, why does someone pass away? I mean, there's no rhyme or reason, right? And so it's like, you just look at life like it's not promised. I don't want to be the victim in it. And I'm going to do whatever I can to like build my dream life and empower myself and just know that like I gave it my all. So like whenever that day is, hopefully when I'm 120, you know, it's like there aren't regrets because like I live so fully and my eyes wide open, you know, and live with joy.
What was that relationship with her during the building, like prior to getting the Whole Foods and while she's living this journey and fighting her own battle next to you? Very different battles at that point in your life, but you'd fought the same battle. Now she's still fighting her battle and you were fighting a very different battle.
I mean, she was so supportive. My mom was an entrepreneur as well. And she was ridiculous. Like anytime she saw a cookie, it didn't matter what type of cookie, she just would bring it home. Hey, I just got you some more market research. Hey, and I was like, Mom, I don't like, that's not even a good cookie, or like, why did you even bring this home? But you know, she was so proud, I think, that I just was so dedicated to something and excited about something. And, you know, she would say to me, like, she would always say to me, you got to be strong, Loren. You got to be strong.
What did she do?
She was a lawyer.
She was a lawyer. What did she do? She'd have her own.
She had her own law firm, and she was the face of her law firm, and she was a co-founder of Jacoby and Myers, which is you know, a major law firm, and they were the first law firm to advertise. She was on a lot of those, and being a kid, I mean, she wasn't the mom that was like, you know, going to basketball games. But
she still sounds amazing.
No, she was the most amazing, but it was amazing to have, just to watch a mom who was so passionate about like doing her own thing and doing something that made the world better, safer, et cetera. So, but it showed me like like, you can't be the victim in your own life. Like whatever happened to you, whatever cards you were dealt, because we're all going to be dealt certain cards at different parts of our life. Like make your own story, make magic.
And what's the like, if we're watching the trailer of the movie, those end cards, like what is that takeaway? What is the next evolution of you? And then I want to pivot a little bit and talk about how you've been using the story to spread your brand. But tell me, what is that? Is it a end scene of you all across the nation with your cookies being distributed, and now you finally are healed and you've got, what is that end scene for you?
Yeah, I think that end scene is we built the next brand name in Better For You Baking and have...
Ooh, and all the consumers enjoying it and their happiness. That's the end scene, Loren.
That's the end scene. We've brought happiness across the world. I think it is. And I think it's that I now have 2 daughters. I'm married. I'm happy. I am healed. As it's a journey, but I mean, I'm living my dream life. I still have huge dreams above, but I think that it's getting to this point where it's like, we did it. We created like the top brand, out of this, and look at all the people we've made happy, and look how we've shown it's possible, and how we've changed the food industry to make it cleaner, safer, more delicious, better for all. And I mean, and what I want to make sure that's in this movie is like all the hard work, because
she's already made the movie now. We've got her to a full movie, guys.
I mean, I've been playing this movie in my head since we are manifesting. It's just like, you can talk about 1 or 2 stories on like an interview, but it's like every day for the first 6-7 years, such a hustle. Like outsmarting, using your charisma, charm, befriending everyone, doing whatever you could. A lot of things that like don't even cost money, right? It's more about like how to build. It's not like when I started the company, I could, pay people a lot, buy my way onto the shelf. It's more that like I sent samples to someone, like how we got into Publix. I got a meeting with the buyer, and then he was interested. He was like, come back. I came back. I brought him extra cookie dough so he could bring it to his family.
Aww, you got into their hearts.
And honestly, the buyer was a man, and his wife was really the one who makes a lot of the decisions about their home. And she was like, yeah, I would feed our boys this over the conventional stuff on the shelf. And that's what made him say yes, I really think, And so I think just taking so many shots, taking so many meetings, pushing myself to really the limit. And I used to live in New York City. Now I'm in LA, but I used to live in New York City in a tiny studio apartment.
So did I.
And so you know exactly what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Was your apartment also a test kitchen?
No, but my apartment was my kitchen. Yeah, so I at least know what that feels like.
I raised my bed as high as you could so that I could put ingredients like buckets of chocolate and flour under it, and then like get a long enough bed curtains so that would cover it. So that like it could look normal. Like I could have a guy over, but like when they found out that you have to like jump into the bed or use a ladder because so just figuring out how to be as scrappy as possible.
But we want to do our rapid fire with you. The end of each show, we usually do a character analysis on our Storyteller. And so they're rapid fire questions. First, I want to say that you said your favorite drink was coconut water.
Fresh coconut water.
Fresh coconut water.
There's a difference.
There's a difference. Does this elicit any memories for you?
This to me it makes me feel like I won't call myself an athlete, but I feel like we all are athletes. So when I drink coconut water, like this is a good kind, like super fresh. Good. I feel like I'm hydrating myself like an athlete so I can just take on the day.
When I say the word home, what comes to mind?
My husband and my 2 daughters.
When I say the word heaven, what comes to mind?
A bubble bath with like all the oils and bubbles and just super happiness, relaxation.
I'm going to your heaven. What about hell?
Working for someone else.
What is the food that you find most comforting? Duh.
Honestly, though, like a warm cookie out of the oven.
Oh, what sound makes you smile?
a baby gurgling and like learning to kind of talk. It's so sweet. I have a 9-month-old and she's, just making all the cute sounds.
How do you define love?
Something that makes you feel so happy and so understood and so adored and so lit up.
How do you define success?
When you're proud.
How do you define failure?
When you want more.
I love that. I know the answer to this question, but do you believe in magic?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Second chances?
Yes, but you really have to show that you've changed.
What about love at first sight?
I think my husband would say he had that. So sure, I had love at first sight with cookie recipes.
Without considering time, ability, or money an obstacle, if there was one thing you could do or learn, what would it be other than what you're already doing?
I would love to learn interior design. I just think there's so many details that need to come together to make you feel great.
Absolutely. I can hook you up with my sister. My sister's redoing our house, guys. And interior design is an art, let me tell you.
It is an art.
I've never messed up so many times in my life. What would you, if you could create a story with any person or about anything in the future, what would your story be about?
I think my story would be about stories about female entrepreneurs. I don't think there's...
I thought you were going to say the Sweet Loren story since we already wrote a movie for everybody out there.
That's a given. That's a given. But there aren't enough in like real time, real today.
What word best describes you as a storyteller?
Passionate.
Passionate. What inspires or drives you?
Reaching my potential.
Last but not least, Loren, what is your favorite story?
My favorite story...
First one that comes to mind.
It might be... the story of Nike is actually...
I love that.
A really good story.
Yeah. Did you like Air? You saw it?
I saw Air and I loved the Phil Knight's book, Shoe Dog. I thought it was amazing.
I want to talk to you a little bit about building your brand story. There is just a rapidly evolving and changing market, especially in health food, natural foods, this entire space. And you guys have managed to kind of stay ahead, if you will, of the trends. And when you were looking and you were building both the packaging and the story behind this and the way you communicate it with that community, what are you doing to make sure that you get to stay in that authentic space? Because we know I worked in brand for 10 years, and we know lots of brands who have these great communities around them. And at some point, because of the pressure of the changing market trends, they try to pivot and they try to do whatever. And they, it's a beautiful thing, but also a hard thing when you become part of the heart of a consumer. And I would love to know what you guys are doing in the storytelling space to make sure that you are able to change with those trends while still staying authentic.
So we do. We really connect with our consumers and honestly listen to what they have to say. The whole point of Sweet Loren's now is to solve a problem in the food industry. It's to make more delicious, better for you food available to and accessible to all types of families all across the country. You don't change a lot if you're just sold in the fancy supermarkets, in my opinion. I want to be sold everywhere. I really want to make it easy for any type of family. So I got to stay close to the customer. I got to hear what products are they missing in the market? Where do they see a need? Because that's our purpose, is to solve that problem. And so we don't launch into new flavors or new products without a ton of research. Like, we do a ton of research to figure out Where's our white space in the market? What is our consumer asking for? And what can we produce and make sure it tastes amazing? And so breakfast biscuits, for instance, are 600.
I can't wait to try
They're
these.
amazing. Yeah, you have to dig in.
Oh, I'm so hungry, guys.
Delicious. Dunk in your coffee or tea. Amazing for, kids bringing to school, et cetera. But it's, so, these markets are big markets, 600 million plus in each of these categories, that there's no better for you really leader. So we look at like, where are they big enough market? Where does our customer, want to go shopping next? And, what are we passionate about? What can we do? Same thing with flavors. Like we just launched last week, this Chocolate Lovers chocolate chip cookie dough that's chocolate chips and chunks. And then also that salted caramel chocolate
It's
cookie
so
dough.
good. This is the salted caramel chocolate,
Yes,
right?
Just launched that in All Sprouts. And it's like, how do we come up with that recipe? Well, we listened to what customers were saying, and like people love that salt and caramel and chocolate combo. So, we don't, so I think that's what we do.
You guys, I'm being so spoiled right now. What?
They're so delicious. And so I think, I think the goal is to make sure that we know what we stand for and not deviate from that. And what Sweet Loren stand for is simple ingredients. We're also free. We're gluten-free, dairy-free, free of the top 14 allergens. But it's all about being delicious.
Between hiring PR, telling your own story, and then using or being empowered by social media and these communities to spread your story, what have you found is the most challenging to share the story authentically, and what have you found is the most powerful? And how did you, I know a lot of people, when they pick PR firms, advertising firms, it's also important to make sure that they have the same ethos, because that can really mess up your brand message. Tell me, as a storyteller, as someone who had a unique and authentic story to a brand, what is that process like, and what is the best advice you can give other people?
I'd say we brought on board like a legit full PR company. This is the first year we've done that. So our whole growth, honestly, for the last 9 years was without a PR company. We were relying solely on growing into more stores, social media, and leaning on our fans for word of mouth growth. That's really like how we grew. And I'm so proud of how we've been able to grow organically that way.
Absolutely, you should be.
Then you get to a point where you're like, wait a minute, like how many millions of other people would love our product that just don't even know about us? How much faster could we grow if we lean in the right way? So I think we're trying a lot of things. I mean, we're really leaning into TikTok. We're really leaning into Instagram. That's really where kind of the Gen Z millennial customer base, that we have is on. I do a ton of interviews and, panels and podcasts to get the story out there, really to connect with people and tell people we exist and get them to try it. Because I know once they try Sweet Loren's,
then
they
can't turn back. They can't turn back. Speaking of which,
they can't turn back. Exactly.
Let's eat these beautiful cookies.
The fudgy brownie is amazing. Hold on. These are chocolate chunk. I don't think these are the salted caramel. Is it? Oh, yeah.
This is the salted caramel for sure, because it tastes like a delicious toffee, you guys. Loren won my heart over, though, with these. With the double fudge brownie.
Fudge brownie.
They are like...
It's my favorite too. Now what you can do, it's so good, right?
Wait, no, we need a minute.
Enjoy.
Go ahead.
Also, oatmeal cranberry. You may ignore it and say, there's a cult following. You have to try the oatmeal cranberry.
So I've been playing a game with each of my guests based on their character or their category of expertise. Remember when we used to play Scattagories as a kid?
Yes.
Okay, this is your Scattagories moment. And we're going to name types of cookies.
Okay.
Which you're definitely going to smoke me at. Scattagories, types of cookies. Gingerbread.
Snickerdoodle.
Oatmeal.
Chocolate chunk.
Cranberry walnut.
White chocolate macadamia.
White chocolate chip. That counts.
Cranberry oatmeal.
Toffee chip.
Caramel chocolate sea salt.
Snickerdoodle. Did someone do that yet?
I did that.
Shit. I'm out. Okay, one more time. One more time. Okay. You can use all the ones you used before.
Okay, perfect. Sorry.
Right. So do it when you hit the snap. Ready?
All right.
All right? Scattagories. Types of cookies. Cranberry walnut.
Chocolate chunk.
Macadamia nut.
chocolate sea salt,
Biscoff.
double chocolate,
Shortbread.
oatmeal cranberry,
Coconut chocolate chip.
white chocolate macadamia.
Whoa, what was that? I forgot M&M's, guys. There was M&M's.
There's monster
and
cookies.
trail mix.
No, I mean, we
It's
could
so
keep
hard
going.
to do.
I know.
Okay, that was great. Loren, thank you so much for being with us. Tell us where people can find you and Sweet Loren's.
So you can find me at Loren Brill on Instagram, LorenBrill, and then Sweet Loren's at Sweet Loren's, which is Sweet Lorens. You can go to our website, throw your zip code in, so to find where our products are sold near you. But we sell our cookie dough in Target, Whole Foods, Ralph's, Vons, Safeway, Wegmans, all the major supermarkets, in the refrigerated cookie dough section. And now we actually have these new breakfast biscuits that are sold in the cookie aisle that are
Charlie was saying he saw
awesome.
breakfast biscuits. He didn't make it up.
They're delicious. They're great. They're already baked. They're grab for on the go. They're 4 grams of protein, whole grain, like so delicious. So those are found actually in Whole Foods in the cookie aisle right now, Stop and Shop, many other supermarkets, or on Amazon. You can have it primed.
Well, please make sure you check out our YouTube. And thank you so much for listening to Curiosity Storyteller Studio.
Thank you for having me.